You're watching Reality Check. It's now clear that India is in the middle of a third wave fueled by the new COVID variant Omicron. But the question really is, how do you go about fighting it? And there appears to be confusing, at times contradictory guidance which is coming out of different governments and different authority establishments. And this is partly to do with the fact that the information emerging about Omicron also is complex and confusing. So we've gathered a group of the top task force members. These are people who are members of task forces, advisors and experts across India of different states who will weigh in on how exactly is the best way to fight this new threat, and also what do we know about it that ought to worry us and what perhaps is not that worrying or a cause for so much panic. But first, let's just look at the numbers to understand why it's now clear that there is a third wave situation. This is the automated real-time chart of the path of the virus all the way from the start of the virus in 2020, bringing us right up to the present. So at the extreme right-hand corner of your screen, you see that little uptick, which is the sign that the cases are rising again. But if you look at the daily average cases, and we zoom in a little bit into that, then this is what it's telling you. It's actually showing you that there's been an almost 165% jump from November 30th to December 6th compared to this last week, December 28th to Jan 3rd. It's up from about 8,700 daily average cases to 23,000 cases. Look at daily positivity rates. On December 6th, it was 1%. On January 3rd, it's up by 3%. So that's a 3-time increase. What is known as the R rate, which is the rate at which the virus reproduces, again is seeing a big jump. On December 6th, it was under 1, the reproduction rate. Now it's almost 1.66. But the interesting number is that there doesn't appear to be, at the moment at least, a major change in the death rate. Even though cases are surging, the death rate, look at that, December 6th, the death rate is about 1.37%. January 3rd, it's about 1.38%, leading to this question which is being raised about whether Omicron is much more contagious, but is it as virulent as Delta? Is it likely to cause less deaths or fewer deaths, or is that a mistake to make any such assumptions? The other way of testing the waters as to what is going on with the nature of this virus is, of course, to look at the hospital situation, because everyone says, okay, people may be getting infected, but the real risk is, are they getting hospitalized and are they facing serious to fatal levels of illness? And this is the hospital bed availability at the moment. It has been going up, so that is something which is of concern, but is it significant? December 27th to Jan 3rd, we're comparing. In Chennai, in that period, it's gone up from 5% to 12%. In Mumbai, we didn't have the figure for December 27, but it's also gone up to 12%. Delhi has seen a slight increase from 3 to 5%. Bangalore has seen an increase of 1 to 3%. Okay, let's go across now to panel. We have with us Dr. Shashank Joshi. He's the member of the Maharashtra COVID Task Force. Dr. Subramanian Swaminathan of the Tamil Nadu COVID Task Force. Sudarshan Ballal, doctor, advisor to the Karnataka COVID Task Force. Dr. S.K. Sareen, who's both the VC of the ILBS, the Institute of Liver Biliary Sciences here in Delhi. He's also been part of the court-appointed task force. Let me start with Dr. Sandeep Buddhiraja, who's again member court-appointed COVID Task Force, also Group Medical Director of the Max Healthcare chain of hospitals. Thank you, and also member of the court-appointed COVID Task Force. Firstly, thank you all for joining me. Let me start with you, Dr. Buddhiraja. When you look at what is going on with the virus, first just give us a sense about this slightly conflicting situation. Cases are surging. We don't know if that's leading to a spike in hospitalizations. What is happening with your own set of hospitals with the Max chain? What are you seeing there in terms of the virus and hospital beds and ICUs?
So Vasu, definitely in the last 2 to 3 weeks, we have seen a very dramatic rise in number of patients, and that number is very evident by the number of video consults and patients coming in OPD in various forms, fever, and many asymptomatic travelers and many people who have had contact with positive patients. In terms of hospitalizations, that number has increased definitely in 2 to 3 weeks, but that is a very, very small proportion. And these patients are nowhere as sick as what we saw in the earlier waves, and there have been no ICU admissions. And even for few patients who are there in the hospital, very, very few require oxygen, and there are none on ventilator. So I think it is very obvious that the disease or this particular strain is highly infectious. So one person in the family, and we are in one consult, we are practically handling 7 people, because from infant to the young parents to elderly, the grandparents, everybody in the family is down. And another interesting bit is most of these people so far we have consulted have had their previous 2 vaccinations, and there's a significant chunk who have had COVID infection also in past.
Okay.
So breakthrough infections and reinfections with Omicron is something which we are seeing very, very often.
Very interesting. So you're saying that that you're seeing a big surge in the numbers. These are people who may be doubly vaccinated. They may have even had COVID. But interesting, you're saying you don't have a single person in the ICU. Are you talking about just Max Delhi? You're talking of all of Max? What are you talking about? Or just Max
So
Delhi doesn't have? Or
in Delhi NCR, in NCR Delhi we don't have any patient in ICU or on ventilator. In
no
Mumbai,
COVID patient.
Mumbai is leading Delhi by no sick COVID patients in ICU, no patients on ventilator.
Okay.
And even the patients in the ward are mild to moderate illness, people with some red flags, people with comorbidities, our own nurses and hospital staff which is falling sick, large number is falling sick. So those are the group. In Mumbai hospital, we have had some patients in ICU, but again, that level of sickness, that level of criticality is nowhere near what it was in Delta wave. Although I would like to put a caution here that it is too early to say that for a place like Delhi, I think 2 weeks is the time where we see what the real sickness is going to be.
Okay. Of course, yes. Lots of caveats apply. Interesting though, Dr. Sareen, that we're hearing that from Dr. Budhiraja, because if you look at the actual Delhi government dashboard, it does show that the number of patients in COVID ICU has jumped from about 11 to about 60 in the span of about a week or 10 days. Obviously, they could be in other hospitals, government hospitals and so on. But overall, Dr. Sareen, would you agree with Dr. Budhiraja's assessment that more contagious, yes, but could it be milder, less virulent than than Delta?
Well, what Dr. Budhiraja said, I agree with that, and there are WHO reports, there are reports in JAMA, many other publications that this remains in the upper part of the respiratory tract, and Omicron somehow does not go down so into the lungs. So air hunger, the rush for the oxygen is not there. But what you showed was a very interesting graph of the total number of deaths, 1.37% or 1.38%. Now, if you take the total number of people infected, of them 1.37% may be small if it was, let's say, Delta. But if you have something which is spreading so fast, more people are infected, 1.38% may become massive.
Yes.
So keeping that in mind, I think we should be ready for more hospitalizations. Data from US and others says hospitalizations for Delta was 88% at a given peak. For Omicron at a given peak, it is somewhere close to 57%. So maybe 30-40% less, but looking at the West, there is a possibility that more hospitalizations may not be ICU, should be there.
Right.
Second is that the hospital staff, the doctors, the nurses are very rapidly getting infected. So I think, and this is happening into those who have got 2 shots, those who have got fully vaccinated or even have got the infection in the past. So I think we are having a challenge of the healthcare workers facing these patients. Secondly, those who have been vaccinated, we have no other way except to maybe mask.
Okay. Dr. Joshi, Maharashtra, once again, highest numbers being reported from Maharashtra, Mumbai, almost hitting 11,000-12,000 cases a day. Yesterday, I had the BMC commissioner on. He was saying, yes, it's worrying, but, we have enough hospital beds. I think he said Mumbai has about 30,000 hospital beds. But as Dr. Sareen is saying, that if the overall number of cases surge much beyond the Delta peak, even if the percentage of those who are falling seriously sick is small, as an absolute number it may be very large. Is that a worry?
Well, I think yes and no. My concern is that the explosive nature of the doubling of cases. Yesterday was 8,000. Today we will cross 10,000 for sure. The data will be out in maybe a couple of minutes or as we are talking.
You're talking of Mumbai now. You're talking of Mumbai.
Mumbai, just Mumbai.
Yes.
Just Mumbai.
Yes.
And 90% of the beds are vacant. The 10% of the beds which are filled up. Let me give you an interesting statistic. 80% of them are actually in the hospital but get tested for COVID because they are getting admitted for a heart attack, for accident and so on and so forth.
Right.
So you see the number of admissions due to COVID are abysmally low.
Okay.
Which need merit oxygenation, who are desaturating on Omicron or are needing a ventilator. In fact, we don't have even a single case which is Omicron related. In fact, whatever little cases are the leftover cases of the old Delta. We are rapidly replacing that Delta, trail by completely Omicron, almost by 90-95% in Mumbai.
Right.
Mumbai will have currently a burden of 30-40,000 cases with Omicron, of which the diagnosed cases are probably around 10,000 today.
Right.
And this number will keep going up. Now, you have asked me a question that will this number overwhelm the healthcare infrastructure and are we ready? The answer to that is probably not. Even if it goes beyond the Delta wave, the oxygen requirement, the ICU bed requirement is unlikely and the ventilator requirement is unlikely for two reasons. Number one, as Dr. Sareen said, this virus is more in the upper airways and does not go into the lungs. And we will see this as we are evolving. We are now in the third week of Omicron in Mumbai.
Okay.
And we are seeing most cases, even who had high CRP, high D-dimers, they are recovering now. And many of them are recovering at home.
Okay.
So COVID
Fingers
care
crossed.
is going to be predominantly the symptomatic care at home and then hospitalizing only for the high-risk patients like transplant survivors, people who have immunocompromised diseases. They are the ones. So yes, but we should be ready. We can't be complacent. We cannot be caught off guard. We have actually asked the BMC not to have 30,000 beds, but 45,000 beds to be ready, have the extra oxygen just if the mathematical calculations go haywire.
Right.
So we are fully ready because we are expecting a peak by 15th of January in Mumbai and by around 1st of February in Maharashtra state. And probably the Delhi will follow by a week.
I see. So 15th is when you think you'll peak in Bombay and then later Maharashtra. But of course, as you said, Mumbai may be battle ready, but is the whole state? We're not sure. But let me just move across to Dr. Ballal in Karnataka, where again Bangalore cases are starting to rise, Dr. Ballal, as you know. But when you look at what is happening, Dr. Ballal, with hospitalizations and ICUs, what is it looking like?
Good evening, Srinivasan, and to our other distinguished panelists. Thank you for having me here. Obviously, as was mentioned by all of you, the number of cases is going up exponentially. Bangalore has probably about 80% of the total number of cases in Karnataka. Just one small comment I wanted to make before I move further. You showed the mortality has not changed in the last week or so. However, we must look at the fact that we still have not completely transitioned to Omicron. We still have a fair number of Delta cases, at least in some of the cities. So the mortality may not be the true mortality of Omicron.
Yeah.
Our experience too has been that we are seeing a lot more cases, and unfortunately some healthcare workers who have been vaccinated and some of them who have been previously exposed to COVID are also getting the infections. But this, more than a health issue, is becoming a serious problem because you'll be short of personnel. Each time someone is infected, they are out of action for 10 to 14 days.
Right.
And this will be a serious problem for us rather than the hospitalization.
But at the moment,
hospitalization,
yes, with the hospitalization, where do we stand with that?
It's very marginally increased, and unfortunately, some of the hospitalizations honestly are not needed. All international travelers who are tested positive now automatically get hospitalized. We are in discussion with the government to see whether they can be managed at home, which they should be. So some of these beds are being occupied by people who really are not unwell and don't need to be hospitalized. So right now, I think our situation is reasonably comfortable. However, if the numbers go up exponentially to millions of cases, then certainly there will be some stretch. But as has been pointed out, so far we have not seen any significant demand for oxygenated beds, or certainly no ICU beds, and very little mortality, and that is reassuring to me.
Okay, again, fingers crossed with all of that. Dr. Swaminathan, when it comes to Tamil Nadu and when it comes to Chennai, the numbers don't seem to be perhaps yet as explosive as the other states, but again, you would say that it's the same when it comes to hospitalization, ICU, nothing too much of a cause for alarm right now, or?
I suspect everybody will be on a very similar, if not the same trajectory. So we may be a couple of days behind each other, but that's about it.
Right.
The trajectory is going to be the same irrespective of where you are, and that's what is happening in every developed country as well, just not just South Africa. So I don't see any unusual pattern evolving over here. But as of right now, the numbers are pretty comfortable. The state government is pushing that only symptomatic patients or those with who really need admission should be hospitalized in a hospital. Otherwise, it should be, in a smaller center or home quarantine and things like that. They don't want high-end beds being taken up by people who don't really need it, so that you don't lose the high-end beds for really the ones who need it.
That's actually something which, because we just heard that from Dr. Balal as well, that this protocol, I think it's the sort of guidance from the center, if I'm not mistaken, that everyone who has Omicron has to be admitted. Is that right? Is that that's the guidance so that ends up filling a lot of hospital beds when you don't really need to do that. And there's a worry, Dr. Buddhiraja, that people as a result of that are trying to kind of bypass getting detected for Omicron. They're trying to take, what are called rapid antigen tests and things like that. So maybe that's something which, as some of these panelists have said, the center may want to rethink that.
Absolutely, Vasu. So here are 2-3 points which I would like to make strongly for the government to reconsider. One is a mandatory institutional quarantine of travelers, and these are not necessarily Omicron. These are Omicron suspects as of by the time when they are referred to hospitalization or referred for institutional quarantine. And if they remain inside the hospital till their Omicron report comes, which is on an average used to take 5 to 7 days, nowadays taking 7 to 10 days. So they stay in hospital practically asymptomatic, waiting for Omicron report to come in, and once comes positive, they are to be segregated into Omicron positive ward, and if negative, then sent home for home quarantine. Now, I think this right now needs to be relooked into, as the hospitalizations will increase even if they are not that level of sickness.
Right.
So, and these patients are so asymptomatic, so mild that they can be managed at home. That's point number one. Point number two is we must also relook into our isolation or home quarantine policy, which till date says 14 days, which was a policy which was released in 2020. Now, if you know that CDC just about a week, 10 days back has reduced their isolation period to 5 days.
This is America.
And UK has reduced its isolation period to 7 days.
Right.
US, CDC US has reduced the isolation
right.
period requirement to 5 days.
Right.
Yeah, and UK has made that 7 days now, and we are still sitting at 14 days. We know that this particular strain, the disease is milder and also of shorter duration.
Okay.
And there is no point repeating an RT-PCR when a person is recovering. So these are the points where, and because esteemed panelists made this observation that a lot of doctors and nurses are falling ill, and a biggest crisis which will happen shortly will be shortage of manpower.
Right.
And one reason for that would be if you are home quarantined for 2 weeks period, I think that is something which must be urgently looked into.
Okay.
And that period shortened to maybe a week.
Maybe
or so.
shorten the period. Okay, fair enough. But Dr. Joshi, in terms of, what steps, apart from getting ready, hospital beds and all that, in terms of curbs and lockdowns and so on, what is your take on that? Because Delhi's brought in some sort of weekend curfew, I believe. Other states you already have, I know, some curbs in place. But, Mr. Chahal, BMC Commissioner, was telling me Maharashtra doesn't think that's the way to go just yet. You're not looking at cases, you're looking at hospitalizations, so you don't want to go stringent yet. He says once you hit 20,000 cases a day, right now you're about 8,000, once you hit 20,000, you may want to think of locking down. Is that, you agree with that?
So lockdown is only when the health preparedness and the beds are over-occupied. So that is not a strategy to go at. People can apply a circuit breaker strategy, but I don't agree with that and I don't subscribe to this whole lockdown philosophy. I think two things are very clear. Srini, as we talk, 10,000 cases in Mumbai are reported. 90% of the pool is asymptomatic. As Dr. Buddhiraja said, that this asymptomatic pool is the one which is contagious and spreading out. And to contain them at home for 10 days is almost impossible. And if they are asymptomatic, they test negative after 7 days on a rapid or a RT-PCR test. Sometimes RT-PCR sheds a virus, but it is a dead virus. So rapid antigen test is good enough. In Maharashtra, our additional Chief Secretary Public Health, Dr. Vyas, has already passed a guidance that if you are asymptomatic healthcare worker with 7 days, you can go back with double masking.
Okay.
Just like what CDC did not have that RT-PCR in place.
Okay,
that was the only difference.
Right. So you're
but
saying,
I think
yeah.
lockdown may not be needed unless there is a circuit breaker required for 2 weeks.
Oh, otherwise you don't think it's needed. Dr. Sareen, Delhi has brought in some weekend curfew. We don't know if that's like a trailer to more severe restrictions. Necessary, not necessary?
Well, I think the DDMA has thought it over, and I'm sure the expert committee has also recommended. In my opinion, the people's mindset needs to be changed. And that mindset during the festive seasons had totally gone this way. It has to be brought back to the center and to the right corrected way. Okay. And for that way, I think there is no harm. I just want to add two more points to
very briefly, very short on
yes.
time, and I need to go to
the type of patients we are seeing now are those who got the COVID and had COVID lung disease due to Delta, and now when they have come with the Omicron, they are very sick. So just to say that Omicron cannot cause sickness may not be true. Those who have got prior infections with some kind of comorbidity or injury, they may be very sick. So therefore, we need to be careful.
Okay.
And anybody who comes with COVID-like illness, even if the test is negative, your RAT or your RT-PCR, consider it today as a possible Omicron
as possible COVID. But the point Dr. Ballal, about these restrictions is, and a lot of people are saying that we put those video pictures up on screen. For the public, you say, okay, we're going to have night curfew, weekend restrictions and all of that. But government politicians are all out. You know, all of them are on the campaign trail holding huge rallies, massive crowds. This is, by the way, across parties, across states, everything. How does that help? What sort of signal is this sending?
Yeah. All that I can say, Srinivasan, is that Omicron is very democratic. It treats everyone equally. Whether it's politicians, doctors, public, NRIs, high net worth individuals or the common man. So I think the same rule should apply for everyone. I know it doesn't happen always, but from a scientific perspective, I think it should remain the same. Certainly lockdown is the last resort because it will push us back into the Stone Ages. Our economy will go down. So we should take all measures to prevent a lockdown. And some of the measures taken, which even though they don't sound scientific, I think they are a warning to the public that corona is here in large numbers.
Right.
So please be careful.
Okay. But then Dr. Swaminathan, I mean, you can maybe not lock down, but at the same time, shouldn't you at least avoid huge gatherings like political rallies? Because these are the same government heads who are also giving guidance about being safe during, take safety measures, all of that. And then you see them addressing these huge crowds.
I think the problem is everywhere. Why only politicians? IMA had a recent conclave in Patna, and you know what has happened after that. The number of people who turned out positive after that is just growing every day.
This is Indian Medical Association, IMA.
Absolutely.
Right.
Absolutely. So, I think, the physicians should first be more responsible and they should be held to a higher standard. Why are we having physical meetings and there's still no statement on this from IMA or any of the other bodies? I'd love to see more from the medical societies telling people, guys, please back off. Problem is, it's very difficult for us to kind of come up and say, listen, this is dangerous, when we can't set our own house in order. I'm very disappointed with this, but that's the state of affairs.
Okay. Well, let's hope wisdom will prevail. But great to have all of you. Fascinating conversation. We're out of time. We'll have to leave it there. Thanks for watching Reality Check. Good night.